I now request Vrinda Grover ma'am to please come up and say a few words.
फ्रेंड्स, साथियों, सबसे पहले तो आप सबको बहुत सलाम, क्योंकि जेएनयू की जो स्पिरिट है, जो हर आंदोलन के साथ खड़ी हो जाती है, सवाल उठाती है और एक क्रांति का जज्बा जिंदा रखती है इस देश में। जब मैं यहाँ पहुंची तो आई वॉज वेरी surprised and very happy. I should not have been surprised, but I've not been a student of this university. I've only studied for 6 years in Delhi University. I was therefore perhaps surprised. We had a couple of events in the last 2 days with Sharmila, and I was disappointed and anxious. बहुत कम लोग आए। मीडिया तो बहुत बिजी है, देश की सुरक्षा में लगा हुआ है। मगर जो पब्लिक फेलिसिटेशन था, उसमें सिविल सोसाइटी के भी देयर वर फ्यू पीपल, एंड इन फैक्ट सम ऑफ अस वर वंडरिंग दैट व्हाट इज हैपनिंग, व्हाई इज इट दैट वी हैव नॉट understood what is our role at this juncture. But having come here, I am confident that those who matter and those who understand will stand in solidarity with the revolutionary struggles in this country, and I know you have played host to many such struggles. I want to also repeat that it is indeed an honor and a privilege to be here with Irom Sharmila. I have met Sharmila before in Manipur when she was in captivity in a hospital. And I'm extremely happy that we are here today with Sharmila having chosen her own freedom. पर शर्मिला को मालूम है कि वो ये जो आजादी उनकी कल्पना में है. She was here about 2 months ago when some of us met her, when she had come to attend a hearing in court over here, and she was very clear that she will continue her struggle. Many of us asked her, it's been so long, and she said, yes, I have natural desires and I do wish to lead a different life also, but the struggle cannot be given up. और फिर उन्होंने अपना निर्णय लिया कि वो इस आंदोलन को एक अलग तरीके से, मगर अपने आंदोलन को जारी रखेंगे, और उस आंदोलन के साथ हम उनके साथ खड़े हैं। वो जिस भी रूप में उसको आगे लेके जाना चाहे, वो उनकी अपनी एक एक्सप्रेशन है। मैं यहाँ पर एफ्सपा के बारे में 1-2 बातें बोलूंगी, ज्यादा नहीं बोलूंगी। आप में से कई ने इस पे जरूर हमसे कहीं ज्यादा रिसर्च किया होगा, you would have written about it, researched about it, so I will speak very little about it, but just to flag a few issues. Papuri mentioned about Satyagrah. AFSPA, as we know, is a colonial law that was continued, like many such other laws like sedition, has been continued despite the constitution coming into place. Satyagrah was also a political expression, a political strategy, a political tool used against the colonial regime. It was one amongst many political expressions that compelled a colonial regime to leave the country. Irom Sharmila's Satyagrah has not yet compelled the Indian state to repeal AFSPA. तो क्या ये कॉलोनियल रेजिम से भी ज्यादा भत्ता आज का इंडियन पॉलिटिकल क्लास और इंडियन पॉलिटिकल स्टेट का स्वरूप है? ये सवाल हमें सोचना होगा, पूछना होगा, इस पे अध्ययन करना होगा. What is it about APSPA that they wish to cling on to? अब opposition में बैठकर former Home Minister Chidambaram ने in a recent interview he said that he too had wanted repeal of APSPA, but the army said no. Sometimes I feel it's better to keep some people in the opposition. Don't let them come back to power because they think more clearly when they are in the opposition. What is it in APSPA that is so attractive when it has come under severe criticism, not only within India, not only by the struggles of the Northeast, by the struggles and protests of Kashmir, but across the country and internationally? There is not one United Nations mechanism. Special rapporteurs who have visited India, Human Rights Council, various other committees who have repeatedly said that this law encourages impunity and must be repealed by the Indian state, and yet the Indian state has refused to do so. What is it in APSPA? It is as you all know, it's a very short law. It has 6 provisions in the Northeast 1958 version and 9 provisions in the 1990 J&K APSPA. Apart from the extraordinary powers that it gives, उसका असली जो होल्ड है वो क्या है कि आप उनके खिलाफ कोई लीगल एक्शन नहीं ले सकते. वो कुछ भी करे, और ये आर्मी के ऊपर भी लागू है और सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस पर भी लागू है. आए दिन टेलीविजन पे, और अब तो वो ही रोज बैठते हैं वहां, जो फॉर्मर जनरल्स हैं. And I really don't know, this is a question I ask in seriousness, why a former general should come on a 9 p.m. show attired in their former dress. I have not understood, because I don't think we should be terrorized through the television. मगर उनको वो बार बार कहते हैं हमारे यहाँ 0 टॉलरेंस है ह्यूमन राइट्स वायोलेशंस का. मैंने 2011 में एक आरटीआई फाइल किया था. मैंने उस आरटीआई में 4 सवाल पूछे. The 4 questions that I asked, and this RTI was addressed both to the Ministry of Defense and to the Ministry of Home Affairs. And I'm sure there are people here who are going to tape what we are saying and put it up. I'm speaking with the document in hand, so whatever you want to record, you're welcome. The 4 questions addressed to the Ministry of Defense and the Ministry of Home Affairs in an RTI application that I filed in my own name were as follows. It was only with relation to Jammu and Kashmir. How many applications for sanction for prosecution of human rights violations by the security forces have you received in the Ministry of Defense from 1989 to 2011? The second question was, how many applications for sanction for prosecution are still pending consideration? Again, the years are the same, the time period is the same, 89 to 2011. The third question was, how many applications for sanction for prosecution of any member of the security force have you rejected? And the last question was, how many applications for sanction for prosecution have you accepted? This is the reply. The Home Ministry never replied. They told me to go to various other places. It's very tedious because citizens are expected to run, and I refuse to be subjected to that kind of stuff. The Ministry of Defense did reply. This is a reply dated 23rd December 2011. The reply to the first question, how many applications for prior sanction? 44. How many applications are pending consideration? 33. How many applications have been rejected? 11. Please do the maths. How many applications have been accepted for prosecution? Nil. This is a document of the Ministry of Defense of Government of India. I did not make this up. So when there is a demand, a clamor कि एप्सपा के अंतर्गत impunity होती है, उसका एविडेंस मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ डिफेंस खुद देती है हमें. ये कोई मनगढ़ंत कहानियां नहीं है. अभी मनोरमा के केस का जिक्र हुआ. मनोरमा के केस में एक जुडिशियल कमीशन बिठाई गई. आर्मी वेंट टू द गुवाहाटी हाई कोर्ट सेइंग द स्टेट ऑफ मणिपुर अंडर एप्सपा कैन नॉट इवन सेट अप अ जुडिशियल कमीशन ऑफ इंक्वायरी. The single bench ruled in favor of the army, the division bench ruled against the army. Judge Upendra gave his report in the inquiry commission in which he said that there were bruises on her body and on her private parts and there were bullet wounds and there was clear evidence including the presence of semen from her body. The army has come to the Supreme Court in that case too against any form of prosecution. There are many such cases. Very few actually reach the court. Even those that reach the court have a very grim story of injustice and impunity. In the case that was read out by her on the extrajudicial executions, 6 cases were examined by the Justice Santosh Hegde और उन्होंने कहा वो 6 के 6 झूठे हैं. जिन 6 लोगों को मारा था उनका मिलिटेंसी से भी कोई लेना देना नहीं था. अब 1528 केसेस को कौन इन्वेस्टिगेट करेगा, कौन छानबीन करेगा? मेरे हिसाब से आज सुप्रीम कोर्ट के आगे एक सवाल खड़ा हो गया है, क्योंकि ये जो पिछले 50-60 सालों में खासकर नॉर्थ ईस्ट और जम्मू कश्मीर के एरिया में जो वायोलेशंस हुई हैं जिसकी किसी ने भी जवाबदेही नहीं दी है, आज वो उनके सामने खड़ी हो गई हैं और रूल ऑफ लॉ के पास मैकेनिज्म्स नहीं है उसको डील करने के लिए. आपने 6 केसेस तो एक कमीशन को दिए, वो 1528 केसेस का क्या होगा उसका भी जवाब सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने देना है. दे हैव सेड यस वी विल ऑर्डर अ प्रोब. We do not know what will be the nature of that probe. In that, it was argued by the Attorney General that if you raise these kind of questions, the army's morale will be affected, and the Supreme Court completely discarded such arguments, which is a welcome step. The last thing that I want to say here is, we are often told, and they say this repeatedly in the international arena, that the Indian Supreme Court has upheld the constitutionality of APSPA in the 1997 judgment of Naga People's Movement for Human Rights. In a subsequent proceeding, there was a long list of do's and don'ts, which of course nobody follows and nobody bothers. The Supreme Court doesn't bother to ask why there is a contempt of its order. The same Justice Verma who headed that bench in 1997 also headed the Justice Verma Committee in 2013, a committee that came into existence because the students of JNU took a lead in demanding accountability and justice for women in this country. Some of our friends, I remember Lenin and others, were present in the public consultation that we held with Justice Verma Committee in Vigyan Bhavan. They were friends and activists from the Northeast and Kashmir. After hearing the women of the Northeast and Kashmir, I recall what Justice Verma said there. He said, I did not know this was happening in the Northeast. At that moment, many of us were very angry. Why do institutions that sit over determining our life, our rights, and our liberties, why are they not informed? Why do they not know what are the violations taking place? But he said, if this is what is happening, and it is written in the report, an imminent review and repeal of APSPA is asked for. He based it squarely on the issue of sexual violence against women and the impunity that forces have in this regard. Therefore, it is the same Justice Verma who said this too. Many of their suggestions and recommendations made became part of the Criminal Law Amendment Act 2013. And as Papuri very rightly pointed out, why was this recommendation of the Justice Verma Committee completely overlooked? Because it affected the lives of women of Northeast and Kashmir. Therefore, nobody paid heed to this recommendation of review and repeal of AFSPA. Parliament did not even bother discussing it. Friends, I will only end by saying, we all know, and you all know this very well, mainstream politics, mainstream political parties do not have an alternative to offer us today in this country. They do not even have a vision or a conceptualization of an alternative politics. I had the privilege of hearing Sharmila at the press conference. She has the courage and the insight to talk of a different politics of ethics. And I salute her to provoking us all to thinking differently. So I would request you all to please listen to her and listen to her carefully.